Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in today. I'm here with my lovely co host, Annie. Good morning, Annie.
Good morning.
And we are really excited for this topic at hand today. We are nearing the end of the homeschool year, and we wanted to devote an entire episode of the podcast on last day of homeschool traditions and why we think that marking these traditions is marking time, I should say, with these traditions is important because I think sometimes we get so focused on the next season and what's summer going to look like and summer plans and even like next homeschool year, the next thing on the list, that we just forget to pause and really celebrate the milestones because completing another year of homeschooling is such a huge accomplishment. Even if it's your first, your third, like we shouldn't let like the shine wear off. We should always like recognize that this is a big deal for you and your kids. And Annie, how long have you been homeschooling? And what year are you finishing up this spring?
Yeah, we're finishing year 7.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And I always have to remember, I think we're on year 16 and we're graduating our second kid this year. So it's, another layer of excitement, but we're going to get into all of this today. But before we get started, I did want to share with you about the spring issue of Learning Well Journal. This issue is out and we have loved your feedback on this issue. Diana says, "Thank you so much for producing Learning Well Journal. It's literally my favorite, and I look forward to every single one," which is so nice, Diana. I hope you
Yeah.
enjoy. Messages like this are so motivating to us. So if you did miss the spring issue, you are in luck because we do have some issues in back stock in the shop right now. You're not going to want to miss out on this issue. And when they're gone forever. So podcast listeners do get free shipping right now when they use the code LWJ free ship. That's LWJ free ship, all one word, all caps, for free shipping on Learning Well Journal back issues in the shop. And the summer issue is about to come out, so be watching for that too. So, okay, let's get into the episode. Annie, I love tying up a homeschool year. It's just such a good feeling.
It
How
is.
how do you think your homeschool year has been overall? Like highs, lows?
Yeah, it hasn't been bad.
Yeah.
It hasn't been our worst, but I wouldn't say it's been our best either. I, I guess I was trying to answer this question with somebody else the other day because they were kind of asking, how's the year been? And I really felt like it's not that it's been bad. We have had some good things about the year, but there's something about this year that has just felt off. And I
Mm.
don't know, I don't think it's my kids. Like my kids have been eager and willing and all the things, but I think it's me. Like it's not
Yeah.
my kids, it's me. I don't know what it is about this year, but I have had a harder time um I guess finding a rhythm, or
Okay.
I don't even know how to explain it. I couldn't even put it into words thinking about like how to describe it today. There's just been kind of some bumpiness with it, I guess. But I
Hmm.
mean, even with all of that, we have had some really good things. Like we have, my son made huge leaps this year in school, which was really fun to watch. He like took
Hmm.
off with reading. There's just been a lot of things that, so we did 2 years of kindergarten with him, and I'm really glad we did. But this year we've seen like where he's like caught up and then some. And so that's been really cool. Um, and that's just been obviously with consistent,
Yep.
reading lessons and all the things. And then we've done some really fun things together, like as a family. We've read some really great books. We're going through, I can't remember if I've shared this one before. I know you shared it years ago. I think I actually heard about it from Cindy West, but the Created for Work
Oh,
book,
yes.
which
Loved
I
that
will
one.
say I've shared on Instagram a couple of times, and a friend just responded and was like, I literally cannot find this book anywhere for less than $30. And I
What?
was kind of floored. I was like, I had to go check for myself because I was like, really?
Is it out
Because
of
it's just
print?
this. I think it's out of print. And
Oh,
so I went and looked, and sure enough, like if you find it like on thrift books or whatever, that's like $30. And then I felt bad like sharing it because what a bummer to not be able to get
right.
it. I think I found mine at the thrift store
Okay.
for like 20 cents. So um anyway, I picked it up because I had seen Cindy share about it years ago, and
Hmm.
I thought, oh, that looks, looks good. And for that price, let's just see what it's all about. So, and it truly is. I mean, if you can find it, I'm not sure if, I don't know, you've read it too. Like, is it 30
Yeah.
bucks worth? I don't know.
I mean, I
It's a
have a
great book.
hard time paying for a book like a paperback book like that. Like,
Hmm.
I do like to buy, out of print vintage books that are hardback and,
Sure.
$30 wouldn't be crazy. Um, that's a hard question.
Yeah.
I would try some other avenues first. I would borrow it if somebody has it, but it is such a good one to own.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know, even like Christian book, I feel like that's where I got mine was christianbook.com.
Well, I didn't look there. I know like I checked on
Okay.
Amazon and they had some
Well, if
used, but they were
Amazon,
at that price.
okay.
And then I checked because she had said she's like, I cannot find this anywhere for less than $30. And I was like, really? That's crazy. And then somebody else the last time I shared it responded and was like, I can't find this book anywhere.
That is
So
crazy. Because I do
yeah,
think,
sorry
don't
to
you
bring it
think it's
up,
one
but
that you would want to own?
I do, yes. And I mean, there's just so much good. There's so much
So
good in it,
good.
and we're reading it through. I mean, it's specifically written for boys, but my girls are we're all
Yeah.
getting a ton of great, lessons from it, and
I
it's
actually
just
felt
been really
convicted
good.
several times myself
Yes, same,
because they're like,
same.
he describes things like every chapter is just like a different aspect of work. If you're not familiar with this book, and, so it talks about, being or
Yeah.
honest in your job. And so if you're on the clock, like be working and those kinds of
Hmm.
things. And every chapter pretty much has a story of him. He's a carpenter by trade, and he makes, doesn't he make a boat too? Like he does like lots of
Hmm.
handiwork in the book, and so that's his job. And every chapter and every aspect of work that he's covering, he kind of gives a sweet story, something that
Right.
happened to him, and so it's very relatable, and the kids kind of get sucked into his
Hmm.
stories too. And
Yeah, it's like how he learned this lesson, this
yeah, and I
particular
remember
lesson.
one where he was talking about mowing the lawn and how he said, don't just go and mow the lawn with straight
Hmm.
lines, weed eat around the edges, like just the way he described everything in such detail.
Hmm.
Before you put the lawnmower away in the shed, sweep it out and get all of the grass clippings out so it's a nice clean, like he just explains it
Right.
all. So, and I was like, ugh, it's very convicting because how many times am I doing a
Yeah.
job where I'm just like, get it done, hurry up, it's just
Yeah.
not going to be perfect, and it's never going to be perfect, but like we could all just try a little bit harder, right? Even when we're
Yeah.
doing the dishes, like
Exactly. Yeah.
do the dishes, put everything away
Hmm.
properly, wipe everything down, wipe
Hmm.
out the sink. Like we could do those things. It takes an
Yeah.
extra minute. And he's just so good about gently convicting
Yep.
us to be
Yep.
better, right?
Yeah. I know. Yeah. It's great. I mean, if you find it, pick it up. Even if you own a copy and you find another one, pick it up and pass it on to someone because it really
Yeah,
is, it's great. And so, like, that's been a really fun part of this year. I feel like we have had like really good discussions through that. We studied the Renaissance and
fun.
Reformation, which was wonderful. It was really just a fun era to study together. We all read The Hobbit together
That's
this
so
year, which
fun.
was really fun, and watched the movie afterwards. And it was um, not my preferred genre, but I will say that I am like a better human for having read it,
Hmm.
if that makes any sense at all. It just was really good. So we've had like some really great things, but overall, like I wouldn't say from my perspective, like and the way that I dealt with the year, I don't feel like it was my best. Again, I
Hmm.
really think it had nothing to do with my kids. They
Yeah,
were always eager and willing, and that made me feel really bad because I was like, "What's your problem, Annie? Come on, get it
mm,
together." Um, but we had trouble finding good rhythm. Our winter was a little hijacked with trips, broken legs, so it's like
yeah,
I had some things planned that were we were going to be doing this. Well, we did this unit on attentiveness, and we still, kind of plugged through it, but we also put several things to the side because I had plans of doing like these winter hikes looking for like animal tracks and things. So it was just like, okay, what can we do? Like, I don't know, just there were some wrenches thrown in. And, that's again, like some of that is just the beauty of homeschooling, is that those kinds of things happen and you get to adjust for those and figure out new ways of, maybe making your year look different.
Mm-hmm.
But it's such an easier when wrenches like that are thrown in. I feel like life is easier when you're homeschooling. I mean, just with
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
specific instance, I mean, can you imagine if I had to send Trip to school with a broken leg? Like he can't carry any of his own stuff. He
Yeah.
he could it was hard for him to like open a door for a while because, he couldn't like manage the crutches very well. And so I think about that and I'm like, man, I am so glad that we homeschool. Like we didn't have
Mm-hmm.
to deal with that whole issue. So anyway, some good things, some not so great things, but overall it was my issue. So I really
Yeah.
need to step up my game next year and get over whatever my my actual issues are. So I don't know. How was yours?
Yeah. And I think there's just seasons like that. I think there's just times. And I also think like spring is kind of, and I guess, maybe the year started out like that, but I think spring sometimes we're just getting burned out. I know this spring has
Yeah.
just kind of felt like I'm not wishing time away. I'm really actually enjoying a lot of the classes and courses and stuff I'm doing with the kids, but it just, I'm, I don't know, you just kind of get tired of the
Hmm.
same every day. And it's just,
Yeah.
it's hard. Like, I think like it would be boring to go to the same job every day. And so we
Yeah.
would struggle going to the same job every day. So it's no different than homeschooling. But actually, we have like such a huge blessing where we can change things up. We can take our stuff to the coffee shop. We can, you
Yeah.
know, switch up our schedule for the day and, you know, go to the trampoline park or something instead, not with a broken leg, but or maybe that's where you go if you are going to get a broken leg. But
Yeah.
I think like we are in such a great spot to be able to kind of accommodate some of those struggles and you know
Hmm.
change things how we need to. But we've had a good year. You know there's times when I get sad because like I think about next year and I will be down to two students, which is like,
Hmm.
I mean, my class size is shrinking. And I do
Yeah.
remember when Noah, when my oldest graduated, it was just like it hit me all year, but like that last day of school, which we'll get into the traditions surrounding that, but that last day of school, um, every day or every school year at the beginning, the very first day and the very last day, I take a picture of my kids on the front steps. And I've always done
Yes.
that no matter where we've
I
lived.
love that.
And so that's such a fun one just because you can really gauge how much your kids, I don't really do like growth charts or anything like that, but like you can really gauge just because they're in the same spot
Hmm.
every year. Even if you're moving, they're still in the front steps and they're growing and changing. And it's just so crazy how much they change,
Hmm.
even from September to May. Um, and so I just remember, you know, 4 years ago, taking that last day of school picture with Noah on the front steps. Oh, and it just like, I don't
Yeah.
know, it was just such a like crazy moment where it was just like, this is it. Like, this is the last time I'll do this
Hmm.
with all four of my kids. And now, it's shrinking again. And so I do think like that's like part of the reason why I think it is important to just kind of like pause and kind of take those feelings in because
Hmm.
I would rather have a moment like that where I'm kind of just like letting myself be sad. It's appropriate in the moment because it's like this is what's happening. It's the last day of school. Um and it's not like an on and off switch where it's like, okay, now I'm just not going to be sad or emotional about this at all anymore. But it's like you kind of paused and acknowledged it. You took your picture. It
Hmm.
it you kind of captured that moment, and then you can kind of go forward and start to like look forward to the next season because you've kind of put a bow on the last one. And So even though I was just in the car the other day with Sophia, and I started just crying about like memories with Jack, my 18-year-old, and just like how much I'll miss him just as a person, just not sitting at our table every morning. But um at the same time, like, and who knows, maybe this will be vastly different with the girls. There's already so many differences I see with teenage boys and teenage girls in the way I approach them
Mm-hmm.
as a mother. But like I see him becoming a man. I mean, he's really getting too old to be taught by mommy anymore. And
Yeah.
he is ready for more. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I've helped him get to that point where he's like ready for whatever is next. And so it's like, that's like a really good feeling. But the
Mm-hmm.
other part of me is like, "Ugh, but I love him so much."
I
You
know.
know, and it's
Oh,
like I don't want him to be gone. Like I want him to
so
be.
bittersweet.
It is like that is it's such a cliche thing to say, but it really is just it is like because I really am truly 50 parts sad. I could just like crawl into bed and like cry about how fast it went and just
Mm-hmm.
like how much I just love him as a person.
Right.
But the other part of me is like he's ready. Like he is a man and
Yeah.
um he can't take like that kind of instruction from me anymore, and he's ready
Mm-hmm.
for more, and I helped get him to that point where he's like ready to go out and be, a functioning adult that other
Right.
people are going to soon be relying on in his
Mm.
workplace or whatever's next for him. So it's like that was the goal. But dang, like, oh, it just is, it's so
Oh,
painful sometimes. But
yeah. Yep.
um so all that to say, we do take our picture on the first day and the last day. And I think like I didn't realize when we started doing it, like how much I would kind of cherish that moment where everybody's like complaining, like, oh my gosh, like, why do we have to do this? This is like the worst. It's
Mm-hmm.
cold out or it's hot out or whatever. We don't want to go outside and take a picture, but I make them. And I'm so glad like that I just didn't stop
Mm-hmm.
that tradition, because
Yeah.
you do look back and you're like, oh man, it does go so fast. And I'm so glad I have like that visual of all those moments, all those homeschool years. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So it's
That's so
been a
great.
good year, but I feel like the whole year I've been just in this back and forth of emotions. Like, oh, he's got this. Like he's smart. He's wise for a kid. Like he's going to be good. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh my gosh, like, oh, I'm not ready. I remember when he read his first chapter book, it was Mr. Popper's Penguins, and it was such a moment. And like, all of these like little school moments as we're doing school this year
Mm-hmm.
are just coming back into my mind. And
Yeah.
I
Oh, so hard. Oh,
know. So, but it's
yeah.
good. This is what we want. We don't want,
Mm-hmm.
man babies, when they're 25, like
Mm-hmm.
sitting there, I don't know. I mean, he can come back anytime, whatever, but it's just like you need
Sure.
more, and
Yeah.
I can't be
Yeah.
everything for you forever. And
Mhm.
it's a tough one.
No. I've been thinking the last couple of days about that whole idea of how people talk about how it goes so fast, and it does. Because I was looking at we were playing a game last night after dinner, and I was looking across the table at my oldest, who's about to turn 12, and I was thinking, like you were saying, you're like somebody that I really enjoy being around.
Yeah.
Like I like who you are,
Yeah.
and I like spending time with you. And she's funny and just a joy to be around.
Hmm.
And then it made me sad, then I got sad, like, oh my gosh, she's getting big, and
Yeah.
like it's just going so fast. But then I was thinking about how people say that, and it is so true how fast it goes. But as homeschooling moms, like we have like, we've chosen something hard, but the gift that it's given us in that everybody everybody, whether you send your kids away to school or you keep them home, everyone will tell you it goes fast. But
Yeah.
our fast has been spent, like we've spent nearly every moment with them.
Yeah. There's no regrets there, right? Like I
there's
didn't
no
miss
regrets.
anything.
No, I can't imagine at the end, feeling like that went so fast and like the majority of it, they weren't even with me.
Mhm. I
That
wish I would have done
that
this
feels,
different or
yeah,
that.
that feels so sad, where this, I feel like you have that aspect of course, it's always going to be sad because that's your kid, it's your baby. They've been with you forever. And so
Mhm.
there's that sadness, but also you feel so ready also to like kind of launch them into that next season, it's supposed
Yeah.
to be that
I
way.
know. I know.
So,
And it just, I was just thinking when you were saying that, like the other night I was doing something on the computer and Noah walked through and I said, I don't remember what he said, but it was something just that I thought was like a cool thing to say or like just a smart thing to say. And I was like, Noah, you are so smart. And I'm like, honestly, like I just love you so much. I'm like, I don't think you understand. Like, I would not be even half the person I am if you would have never been born. Like, I would probably be dead. Like, I was on such a trajectory of like destruction
right.
in my life. Like, when I found out I was pregnant with you, like, I would probably not even be here. And boys are so uncomfortable with talk like this.
Right.
And he's like, well, I suppose I wouldn't be here without you either, mom. Like he's just like, I don't know what to say, but I feel like I should say something. And it's just like, I don't
He's not
know.
wrong.
No, he's not wrong. I was like, well, yeah, that's true, I guess. Um, but there are just these moments with your kids where you it just see like, and I remember when they were younger, probably around Ivy's age, where it was just like you are starting to see like a little peek into, I don't know, like kind of those baby layers are coming off a little bit. And you're like
Hmm.
getting to see peaks of like the adult woman or adult man that they're
Yeah.
kind of becoming. It's such a wild thing. And I do feel like when you're really clued into
Right.
your kids and you're around them every day, you do see those moments. And it is, I mean,
Hmm.
I suppose sometimes it could be scary, but I know like with watching my boys, I'm like, I actually really like, I don't just like you because you're my kid. Like, I like you as a person. And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is such a cool experience. But again, it is so bittersweet because you're looking at him and you're like, oh, like, but really, I remember not very long ago, you were in your little, what are those baby wrap things called? Like, I had him in that every day. And I'm like,
Hmm.
it wasn't that long ago. And I don't know. I don't know. It's
Hmm.
hard.
I
How are we
know.
looping this into last day traditions? Are we just going to cry the
I
whole
don't
time?
know.
I mean, I'm fine with that, but
Well,
but
oh man.
I think this
There
is
are ways to make the last day fun. There we
there
go.
there are, and I don't think most of the time I don't cry on the last day of school, but
Yeah.
I think I might have last year though because it was like, oh gosh, we only have one more year. But
Hmm.
anyway, I do think like this is why it is important to not just be focused on like, because I think we talked about in a recent episode how it does seem like just in the world in general, but we're in the homeschool world, so we see this a lot. People are already, it's February and people are like, what are you doing next year for homeschool curriculum? And, you know,
Hmm.
like showing these huge hauls of stuff that they're buying for next year. And it's like, just calm down, calm down,
Hmm.
Susan. It's gonna be okay. Like just focus on this year for a minute because
Yeah.
it goes so fast. And so you can still, I think, do both where you're kind of thinking about the next season while still being
Hmm.
present. But it does, I think, get really easy to just get rolled up in that next shiny thing. And so you just kind of forget what's going
Yeah.
on right there in front of you. And so that's why I'm such a traditionalist in that way. Like I like marking the passage of time like that because traditions are like such a strong memory connection that I think kids have with their home
Hmm.
life, no matter where they go and when they get married and start their own things, like these are kind of like
Yeah.
setting the foundation for like how your kids are going to view their childhood and how they raise their own
Yeah.
kids. And so I do think it's important to just kind of like do those special things and, you
Mm-hmm.
know, also just to pause and be like, hey, look at all this stuff we did this year, like Trip and his, you know, his accomplishments that he's done academically. Like those are all great
Mm-hmm.
things to just like pause and say, think about where we started and like where we are now, or look at this
Right.
big stack of books that we finished, or um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, whatever. So what are some ways that you celebrate that last day of school?
Mm-hmm. Um, we do, well, we always do last day of school pictures. I've loved your idea of doing them in the same place. I've never quite gotten that. Maybe it's just because we've moved around a lot. And so it's never felt like, where do I do this? Or maybe it's just because I don't feel like I have a great place to do the picture. Um, all just excuses. I could certainly do that. But we always take the pictures.
Yeah.
A last day of school picture, which is fun. I always do some sort of special breakfast, and then we typically make a really big deal of we throw away our math books because we're all ready to not look at them anymore. So all of us, there, I don't have one kid who's like, I love math.
Oh gosh.
None of them are bad at it, like, but it just is not their thing, and it doesn't, they don't get excited for it. And a lot of times they're really just kind of dreading it. And so anyway, after like just working, because it's just the one subject, I feel like everything revolves around it, which I hate, but you have to do it. And so we make a big deal of pitching those things in the garbage.
That's
And then
fun.
we typically we typically go somewhere fun, like a public space
Yeah.
that would normally be occupied by public schoolers, because I have always said, and we've kept to this, that one of the benefits of homeschooling for our kids is that they get to be done earlier than public
Mm-hmm.
school. And so we make sure that we do end before public school's out. We always have, and I hope we can always keep that. I know as they get older and classes are more demanding or whatever, that might not always be something that we can do, but
And
we
we
try and
start
end.
later too. I feel like we start
Yeah,
much
we do
later than
too.
like public schools, and then
Yep.
we're done before they are too. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we try to end at least 2 weeks before, if not more, if we can, before they get out. And so we'll go someplace that normally would be like just super busy with kids, and they get to kind of have it all to themselves. So we'll do something like that. But the last day is just like a total non, there's not,
right.
you're not doing
It's a
anything
formality.
schoolish,
Yeah.
it's just yeah, this is marking the last day or whatever. So, um, yeah, so those are kind of the things that we typically do on our
Mm-hmm.
last day.
That's
Yeah.
so fun.
Yeah.
I love that. And I know you said this before, but if somebody's tuning in for the first time, can you just share how old your kids are, like what grades they're in? So
Yeah.
like people get the idea of
So
like what ages you're doing all of this with.
yeah, sixth, fourth, and second
Okay.
are our ages. Um, so yeah, I have noticed a little bit of a shift of needing to do a little bit more for my oldest, but I think maybe that was part of my not quite figuring out a rhythm, because with her, there's just more that I would like to do with her. Um, but we've always done like pretty much everything has been like family style. We talked
Mm-hmm.
about this, I
Yep.
think, last time. And so that's kind of like it's just been a hard, I don't, it's just been hard for me to grasp. Like, how do I maybe fit more in, especially with, and it's not like some of the stuff she would probably be really interested in. It's not like work that would be like a drudgery to get through, but she's also like a very creative
Mm-hmm.
person, and she really cherishes like her afternoons where she gets to just have time to work on what she wants to work on, because she's got lots of hobbies. And so I'm trying to, while I understand there might be a need to kind of lengthen our day a little bit, because we've traditionally always been done by noon, noon to one, somewhere around there. Um, I feel like, how do I get in the things that I feel like not only I need to, but also I would like to, and I think that she would benefit from, without taking that from her, because that's actually one of the things that I believe makes homeschooling so unique, and also makes homeschoolers unique, is that they
Mhm.
have a lot of time to pursue interests that they really love. I don't want to take that from her. Like, I don't want to be doing
Right.
school until 2 or 3. I just don't want to. And not only because, of course, there's other things I would like to do too, but mostly because I don't want to take all of their time away from them. And so trying to figure out, okay, how do I fit in? It's like silly things like, how do I fit in typing? Like, how do I, like
Yeah.
a typing program or something? How do I fit in? I don't know, those kinds of things. I think I've got some sort of a block in there that's causing me to feel like I'm not doing enough. Um, but then I go back to, no, you're like, you're
Right.
doing just fine. And I'm thankful I have a husband who taught in public school for years, and he's always like, Annie, you're doing more than enough. Like,
Yeah.
please, trust me. If you saw like how things were going in the public schools, you would not feel that way. So I'm thankful for that. But does that kind of make sense? Like, I'm
Yeah.
just like, I don't know, how do I fit these things in that I think are going to be important or that they need? I always have these high hopes of, maybe in the summer I'll throw in this typing
Ugh.
thing, but it's like it never
Yeah.
works because nobody
Well,
wants to.
and that's the type of skill
I
where
don't
it's
know.
like the summer is fine to maybe learn like the foundations, but it is a skill like you have to keep doing it like
Mm-hmm.
pretty like often, so like a unit study type thing, it just, it would kind of go in and out. Like she has to kind of keep
Mm-hmm.
doing. But I do think like this is why this is why I think it's a good thing to just wait until June and July to do your planning, because then that old one is done and you can
Mm-hmm.
fully focus on, because like this is the type of thing when you're saying this, I'm like, this is where you need like a week of just focused planning time where you're like making a list of everything that you want for Ivy, or like the ideas that you have for her, and then
Mm-hmm.
looking at your schedule and thinking like, how am I gonna actually implement this, and like what do I have to take out in our current
Mm-hmm.
schedule in order to put this new thing in, or where do I make time or find time or whatever. um
Mm-hmm.
and I think for my brain anyway, it's really hard to do those things simultaneously. It's really
Yeah.
hard to really focus on like be objective about like what things need to be switched up while I'm trying to like actually finish those things, because then
Yeah.
it kind of just feels like you're just a for me, I'm just kind of like, oh, we're not going to be doing this next year anyway. So it's like, just get it done. Just hurry up and get it
Mm-hmm.
done. And I don't want to just kind of peter out on school that way. I want to
Right.
like finish strong. I want to like, maybe we don't finish the whole book, but like, I want to get to my goal of where I want to get to. I want to finish
Mm-hmm.
the papers. I want to finish the lessons that I, had planned, finish the books, whatever. Um, and it's just kind of like, I don't know. It's like you've got like these two different plans going on in your mind, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that is like the perfect example of this is where a good focus planning session comes in, just sitting down, making a list of everything
Mm-hmm.
and figuring out how it's going to work out. And
Yeah.
I would say that 8th grade probably was when I really felt kind of a shift in our homeschools, like where we weren't able to do as much stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think too, partially because I had, my little bookend Vera, then who was like starting school. Then I had like
Mm-hmm.
high schoolers. So it was just a hard thing. Like, how do we do all this together? There were some
Mm-hmm.
things that we did do together, like a read aloud and things like that. But
Mm-hmm.
when my oldest was getting into like 8th, 9th grade, that's when he kind of started doing some of the things that we had done previously as family studies.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of branched off, and my older kids kind of started doing some different things, and then I focus on Vera.
Was that
um
hard?
yeah.
Like, it actually like pains my heart to think of them not all being a part of like these,
Mm-hmm.
because our homeschool has been primarily unit studies, and we love them. We all love them. Like, they are
Yeah.
so fun and so enjoyable. And it actually pains me to think of one of them not being involved. But I understand I get that that's probably at some point that's just going to happen. But man, that
Yeah.
hurts.
And I don't think like I don't it didn't feel like abrupt. I think we kind of like phased it was kind of phases. So like we did a lot of homeschool in the woods for years, and now I'm doing them with just my youngest, because then the older kids are doing like an antiquity course online this year,
Mm-hmm.
for instance. But we talked about a couple episodes ago our favorite curriculum for the year, and what I have done, even though the kids might be doing separate like curriculum because
Yeah.
Vera is so much younger, I am studying, we're still studying the same things.
Sure.
And there
Yeah.
seems to be, and I do think when you have like a good plan, there is a lot of subject overlap. So right now,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of fun because right now Sophia's doing geometry, which actually ties in quite well to ancient Greek history.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
Vera's doing a unit study on Greek history. Their antiquity course is all about the ancients. So what they're listening to in their lectures really overlaps with what Vera's doing in hers. And then we're also
Mm-hmm.
doing a world religion course that I read to everybody to start the day, including Vera. And so a lot of it's not probably sinking in, but we are
Mm-hmm.
on chapters about like Norse myths, Greek
Okay.
myths, Roman myths,
Mm-hmm.
like all of these like kind of old religions, but there's a lot of overlap. And so even though it's like you're not maybe sitting all down together, um, we're still like all having the same conversations. And I found like
Sure.
in our homeschool, it did kind of morph from being a lot of hands-on, more tactile stuff to a lot more like conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And around the table, we're all kind of like having these discussions about this and that and whatever. And a lot of times that revolved around what we were all studying
Mm-hmm.
separately, but still together. And another good way to do that, if you feel like she needed, maybe something more on her own, is for several years, I kind of combined Beautiful Feet books with Homeschool in the Woods because
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful Feet books has really great book suggestions. And so I would have like Noah be reading something from like more, that 10th, 11th, 12th grade level while I'm doing the Homeschool in the Woods study with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was able to still kind of do that hands-on unit study, but also be doing something where he's reading a more complex,
Right.
difficult book on the topic. And then I would
Okay.
assign him extra things like, okay, can you write me a compare and contrast book paper on like the movie and the book or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So we did a lot of stuff like that where it was just kind of a gradual,
Mm-hmm.
you know, growing up thing. And
Mm-hmm.
it was good. I mean, as a mother, like, and again, maybe boys and girls are different sometimes as to like their academics, like what they're into and how much they
Sure.
want to still be doing like the
Mm.
crafty hands-on things.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I do think like that is why it's like just so important to have that like special planning
Mm-hmm.
time. So
Yeah. Agreed.
yeah.
Yep.
So I think for us, like we kind of do something similar. We take the pictures, and then I've always done a summer fun basket, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
my kids look forward to it every year. It's silly, and it's all stuff it's honestly on their own. If I just had all of that stuff sitting there in like Target bags, they would be like, "Oh, boring."
Cool.
But I put it in like a fun basket, and sometimes like we'll
Yeah.
have donuts with it, or
Yeah.
attach a little sign to it. So in the summer basket, it's just um snacks. Sometimes I'll go to the shelves and pull out summer reading ideas for them and just kind of like bundle it all up together and just put a little note on it,
Mm-hmm.
or print out like summer reading, charts or lists or something. And then sunscreen, um, stuff to make s'mores,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. Just very like basic summer necessities that
Yeah.
I was going to end up buying anyway. And I just put them all in a basket. It's all about the packaging. It's all about
It's
the
all about the
presentation.
presentation. That's
And
right. Yes. We
and
always do a summer basket too, but I was going to let you share about it because I learned about it from you. So,
it's so simple because I was
yeah.
like, it was years ago and I was like, okay, who needs a who needs swim trunks this year? So I'm like ordering swim trunks for my boys or picking them up. And then I
Mm-hmm.
was just going to put them in their drawer. And I was like, wait, this
Let's
could be
make
more
this look all
fun.
gifty and
This could
cute.
be way more fun. And so
Yeah.
even now, like as high schoolers and older kids, they're like, ooh, like what's in it, you know?
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
that's so fun. I love that.
and the stores start, in May, they start putting out like the fun things so you can get ideas from that. I do
Mm-hmm.
have a couple blog posts with just a bunch of different random ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just, I don't know, something very simple. All of my ideas have to be simple, otherwise they just don't stick.
Yeah.
So, nothing we do around here is very elaborate. It's just very
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yeah.
again, it's the packaging. It's very simple, but packaged in
Mm-hmm.
a fun way. So,
Yeah. So
um,
special.
yeah, do you have anything else? I know we have an entire article in the spring issue devoted to last day of homeschool traditions, which is why we
We do.
decided to pull that out and talk about it here on the podcast. So, was there anything
Yeah.
else that you wanted to add?
She has really great ideas in here. But and just like really simple ways of making them, come to fruition so that it doesn't feel like intimidating or stressful or like one more thing you have to do.
Right.
But one of the things that she has in here is like a reflection interview, which I see so many people do at the
Yeah,
end of the school year. And I've always wanted to do it. I don't know why, like we haven't made that happen, but I'm kind of thinking this year,
that'd be
because she
fun.
has like a list. She even has a list of questions in there. So it's basically like all laid out for you in here.
Yeah.
But I think I wonder how my kids would answer. Like I was looking through the questions. I'm like, I wonder how they would answer these. I'm actually curious about it. So I think that could be really fun. And then just, like even if it's like put on cute paper or something and tucked into their, whatever you save from that year, I think that could be a really fun tradition to
Hmm.
start. Um, do you do anything like that?
No, I don't. We have done them on like New Year's Eve. We've
Okay.
we've done that for a few years, but it's not something that
Like
stuck
not school
again.
specific or
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and maybe it doesn't even need to be like necessarily an every year thing, but maybe it's, a particular year that like I actually wonder what my kids thought about this year because it was a little off for me, but like I
Hmm.
said, I feel like my kids were always really eager, so maybe it will make me feel better if they're
Right.
like this was the best year. I don't know. Or maybe it will like put a bee in my bonnet to get it together because they totally picked up on my reluctance to
Well, and
I don't know, but
this
I'm
is what I
curious.
love about kids is kids are so awesome in this way where it could be like the most terrible Tuesday ever. Like everything could
Mhm.
have gone wrong and you're like looking around like, "Oh my gosh, this place is a dump. I just burned every meal." Like it's whatever the situation is. And you
Mhm.
could be talking to them at night and be like, "How was your day?" "Oh, it was great. I love today because some random thing that you didn't even know was going." Like they just
Yes.
have like
Yes.
such a great ability to like see the joy in every day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, like
And like the
give
things
me
that
some
are,
of that.
yes, the things that are special to them. Like, I remember one night I just like I could not, whatever it was, I don't remember what the situation was, and this was quite a while ago, but I could not pull together dinner. I was just was not making it work. And I think I put like a bunch of boxes of cereal out and like
Oh
they
yeah.
they look at it like, oh my gosh, remember that night we got to have cereal for dinner? And I'm thinking that was a total failure for me, but I'm so glad that it was like a
Yeah.
memory for you because I would like to forget it, because it wasn't, I do remember like it was a bad day, right? And so it was just also not a great, I feel like not a great decision on my part, but it was just more of like, I'm trying to survive right now. But
Hmm.
for them, like they thought, this is so special. We never get to have cereal for dinner. So along those lines, you're right. Like they, so much of it is just different for them, I think.
Hmm.
So yeah, a lot of things
Yeah.
can be turned into a special thing that you didn't even intend to.
Yeah, so that's
But
awesome. So there are really fun
yeah,
questions in this episode or in this issue, the
yes.
spring issue of the
Yeah.
magazine, which you still can grab some copies of those. And that article was written by Lauren Blumel. I don't know if I'm saying her last name correctly,
Yeah, I don't
uh,
know.
but
That's a good guess.
But you can find Lauren on Instagram, and she just has so many like fun, creative ideas, and we'll tag her below. So anyway, she had some really fun ideas. Those are what we do at the end of the school year. And so I hope this like encouraged some of you to just celebrate this homeschool year. It is a huge accomplishment. This is not an easy thing that we have chosen to do as mothers, but it is a very good thing. And so I think it's okay to just like pause and, do a little celebratory cartwheel or whatever, however you celebrate. Because it is a hard job, but it's such a good job. So anyway, pause and celebrate. Before we go, we always like to end the show with a currently, just something on our list, what's going on in our life, something we're currently reading, watching, eating, doing, whatever. And today we are wondering, or we are going to share about what is something that we are currently researching. So Annie, is there anything that you're currently researching that you want to share with us? Sometimes, for me anyway, I'm like, yes, I'm currently researching, but it's like this weird rabbit trail that we should not talk about over Zoom.
Right.
Like, I don't know, chemtrails or something, but no, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, mine's a little bit along those lines.
Oh,
so
okay.
we don't have to talk a lot about it, but I have been researching genetic mutations.
Oh, scary.
Yeah. So I had this, I know, they're actually not that uncommon. Like we all have genetic mutations in us. It's just not that uncommon, but how they present like in your body, I'm finding can be like for some people you would never know, or maybe you just don't think of it in those terms. For me, it was because a friend, so I got a, I'll try and make this quick, but I developed an autoimmune issue during my second daughter's, during my pregnancy with her. And it's just, I mean, like with most autoimmune issues, they don't go away, like they can go into remission, but you're just kind of stuck with them forever. And so, anyway, I developed one during that pregnancy. And that was 10 years ago. And I've, been living with it ever since. And I have a friend in the medical field he just stays up to date on all kinds of stuff. And so he was reading some PubMed articles about how there's been some studies of a pretty large number of women in my age range that were misdiagnosed with my autoimmune issue, specifically during pregnancy. So they were being diagnosed with this autoimmune issue, but they actually didn't have that autoimmune issue. It's that their body wasn't able to process folic acid properly. And so because their body couldn't process that because of this particular gene mutation, the symptoms of that were mimicking the autoimmune disease that I was diagnosed with. And so it has got me like my wheels are like spinning, because I have felt like pretty much since the beginning of my diagnosis that I was misdiagnosed, but I've never had anything to like, I've had nothing to like come at anybody with, like to say, and this particular field is just like, I mean, autoimmune is so difficult, I feel like, to diagnose and all the things. But so it's a GI problem. And so my GI doctors like never want to talk about any of that. I've been on a lifetime medication for 10 years. And I guess that's where my issue is that I feel like if I'm on this lifetime medication, I want to know that I actually have this disease. Now I'm fine staying on it because it does keep me in remission, and I can't function when I'm not in remission. Like it actually causes cancer in your body and all kinds of things. So like I need to be on it if I have this actual thing. But if I don't really want to be on it anymore. And I would like to try and work on like, getting off of that medication. So I've just been doing all of this research and talking with my main doctor about the possibility of testing for that. So they're like at home tests that you can do that test gene mutations. And a lot of them can, like if you have certain gene mutations, it can be issues with processing certain kinds of foods. And so that's why they say a lot of people have like sensitivities to foods and all kinds of things. So I don't know. It's very interesting, a little scary,
It is
but
interesting. And I mean, there's a lot of info out there on folic acid. There's actually a lot of people who were diagnosed with celiac, and then it's
Mhm.
been found out later that they actually don't have celiac disease. They're just have, like, I don't know exactly what folic acid is, but why is that getting sprayed on everything? Like, why is that something that we like? Is it,
Well, from what I've read, it's that they add it to our wheat, which is
yeah,
why the wheat is the problem, is that they add
yeah,
it to our wheat because folic acid is actually something that your body needs, but our diet is so it's so lacking in everything that we
it's
weren't getting enough of it. And so they
it's
so,
honestly like it's giving
talk
food
about rabbit
pyramid.
trails.
It's giving
Right.
food pyramid. It's like, okay, let's just like make this weird food pyramid and show like everything wrong. Like you don't need
Right.
any protein. You should eat bread all day long and like a slice of turkey. And so like it's like I don't know. The government always overcorrects everything. Like even if
Hmm.
there is like a grain of good in there, it's like they
Hmm.
do, it's like somebody somewhere at the
Hmm.
folic acid factory was like, this is a very good idea. We really need this
Hey
in our
guys.
food. And so they were like,
Yeah.
awesome, let's put it in everything. Because I
Yeah.
don't know if they
Well,
still do this, but I remember like uh cereal boxes used to say
mhm.
like great source of folic acid or
Folic
however they
acid
would
or
word it.
yeah,
Um,
this many essential minerals and folic
yeah.
acid or whatever. Yeah.
It's like, well, what is that? Like,
Yeah.
can't we just get it from something else? Usually that is the case. Usually it's like it's
Yeah.
really good in vegetables, or you can always get it in citrus fruit or whatever. Like a well-balanced
Hmm.
diet would probably get just enough folic acid or whatever you need anyway.
Right.
But it's like,
But yeah, our diets aren't good anymore. And so they like even my friend in the medical field, like I didn't agree with him, but he's like, I mean, the government was doing the right thing and that like they had our best interests in mind when they added the
okay,
folic acid. And I'm like,
okay.
I'm gonna say no on that one, but whatever. Um, so anyway, now we're getting like extra. And then when you think about it, they're being diagnosed in pregnancy because what do you take extra of when you're going through pregnancy?
Mm-hmm.
Folic
Well,
acid.
yeah,
They
because
put you
it's
on a prenatal vitamin that has extra folic acid in it,
right,
which is important. Like you can't not have folic acid or that can actually harm your baby.
right.
But if you have this gene mutation that is actually like your body can't process it, then you're being pumped even more full of this, a folic acid that is actually harming your body. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was like the first. So I was diagnosed with celiac years ago. I mean, 15 years ago, probably, um, and stopped eating gluten. And like, I literally don't have problems if I don't eat it. But then I was diagnosed with a second autoimmune issue, a GI issue during my pregnancy with Hattie, my middle one. And so that kind of goes hand in hand with celiac. And so anyway, it's just interesting. And I have thought about getting off the medication before, but I don't, if you have an autoimmune issue, I think you probably know already that if you have a medication that's working, it is scary to get off of it because
Mm-hmm.
should you come out of remission, you oftentimes cannot go on the same medication again and have it work. You kind of have to step up
Yeah.
to the next powerful thing. And for me, that would be like injections. And I don't want to live on injections like
Oh,
autoimmune.
that's a
Yeah.
hard decision.
So yeah, it's super like it's stressful to me and I want to make sure to make the right decision. But if this test came back and they can be expensive. I actually first heard about this on the Homemaker Chic podcast. So they
Oh,
had,
fun.
I think it was Dr. or not, maybe it's yeah, Gary Brecka. Have you heard of
Okay.
him?
Mm-mm.
Um, anyway, he's like leading you know, the whole thing on genetic mutations. And so like if you purchase the testing through him, it's like $600 and it's at home, but they basically set you up with a consultation to discuss all the results with somebody. If you have a doctor willing to like help you kind of suss all of that out when you do get your report. I don't think it's necessary to go that expensive. I mean, I think I found a test that was like $200 and
Okay.
it's a cheek swab. Like it's very
Sure.
non-invasive. And so I'm thinking I would like to do this and just kind of get an idea. If it comes back that like I don't have that, then just, I'm just
Carry
staying where
on.
I'm at. Like
Yep.
I'm just going to carry on with life. But I have had like a very nagging feeling of being misdiagnosed since I was diagnosed. And there are risks with staying on the medication, and there are risks with like the preventative things that I have to do to make sure that like my disease is under control. And so I don't also want to live in that space if I don't need to.
Hmm.
So talk about rabbit trails, but that's what I'm researching.
Yeah. And I think like to like just hit real quick on that government conversation or that government comment, like I think that uh, I wouldn't assume that the government had our best interest in mind. I would always assume, because it usually turns out to be the case, that there was some lobby, there was some,
Hmm.
big donor that was like, hey, we really, push this product and, we'll,
Hmm.
you know, donate a lot of
Yeah.
money to the
Right.
whatever party or whatever. I
Yeah.
mean, like
Agreed.
This is why Coca-Cola was in like, I don't know if it still is, but they were in like all of the schools.
Hmm.
Like they were just literally, maybe they
Yeah.
still do, I don't know, but they were literally just like, you know, shoveling soda into kids all day long. I remember like
Hmm.
we had a soda machine in our school. I remember
Hmm.
thinking this is odd. Like this is
Yep.
kind of weird. My mom doesn't even let me have this like at
Yeah.
home.
But if you find 50 cents, you can get one without
Yeah,
without your
and
parents' permission.
I usually could like scrounge 50 cents up and get
Hmm.
a do you remember Surge?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, there was
Oh my
Surge. We had a
goodness.
Surge machine, and so the whole
Oh,
machine was just Surge. I mean, that was like
nasty.
straight up Red Bull and caffeine.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what were they
Gross.
thinking? Um,
I don't know.
it's always just comes down to the money to it from what
Mhm.
I have found. And so, I mean, and I think like Domino's, there's a lot of schools that has like, partnerships or whatever with Domino's. And so every Friday the kids get pizza from Domino's. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that's a lot,
Hmm.
but
Yep.
whatever. What do I know? Um, I think for me, what I'm researching, it's similar, but to a much lesser scale.
Hmm.
I have been kind of having some weird symptoms lately, but I can't decide if it's just kind of like end of spring. I'm over winter, but like just feeling cold a lot and like
Hmm.
nobody else is cold and just like um, very exhausted, even though I've been sleeping. So, um, I know that thyroid issues run in my family. A lot of my aunts have thyroid issues. My mom does.
Mm.
Um, I have several cousins that do. And so I've had my thyroid checked many times. And I don't know if I'm going to go get it checked again, but I'm just kind of like trying to find resources that just help you to just kind of just treating myself as if I do have some kind of like
Hmm.
thyroid, because it's nothing like crazy that you're doing. It's just, getting a
Right.
certain number of, hours of sleep and eating certain, things like root vegetables, like up your root vegetables, because that gives you
Mm.
more of the nutrient dense food that you need to kind of like help support your thyroid or just things like that. So
Yeah.
Carrie, her name is Carrie Vitt, Vitt. I love her. Found her a few years ago. She's got a great Instagram, but my favorite thing is her blog. She has
Mm.
tons of recipes, which I actually haven't like dove into her recipes as much, but her articles are just so good, so thorough.
Mm.
I learned about like castor oil packs from her a few years ago, and those are have been really great. So, yeah, basically just reading a lot of her stuff about thyroid and adrenal health and things like that. And
Yeah.
um, she's got such great information. So,
Yeah. It's just huge topics. Like there's a lot of reading out there to be done.
yeah,
So researching is a great word for both of those things. It's just it takes a lot of time.
yeah. And we don't really have a
Yeah.
lot of time
No.
to do that,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's necessary, but again, something we can like look forward to getting maybe more of this type of reading done over the summer.
Yes. Yep.
When we're not doing unit
Absolutely.
studies.
That's
and
right.
math lessons.
And math.
Yes.
Always the math.
So if you guys are doing math, go forth in faith. And whatever it is that you have to do next, just do the next right thing. And we will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.